Hi! For those of you who don't know, Sherlock is Garbage and Here's Why is this YouTube video up here. It's got 15 million views, and for reasons probably to do with my weird brain, parts of me can't let it go because the entire thing is almost entirely just appeal to ridicule fallacies, and the guy who made it, whose name is Harry and his handle is HBomberGuy, the guy who made it either spends the entire time lying or he's so ignorant about what he's talking about that he just says stuff and he doesn't really care if it's true. But yeah, the majority of the things that happen in that video are massively incorrect and people love it. Because in Sherlock's Garbage and Here's Why, the dude is just saying things in this incredibly confident manner, and he is trying to be funny for a lot of it. So the majority of the people in the comments clearly have seen this guy just taking the piss out of Sherlock and Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who and Jekyll and a lot of other Stephen Moffat stuff, because the guy's got an axe to grind about Stephen Moffat. And they've seen him do this really confidently, and they've gone, oh, okay, so everything he says must be true, because they've had the style overwhelm their critical thinking. I did a whole video about it, it's down here, but because of my Doctor Who project, I wanted to go back to the Doctor Who section of Sherlock is Garbage and Here's Why, because I have been noticing a lot of things that happen in Russell T Davies's Doctor Who that really counteract his point. I kind of wish I wasn't doing this because I feel stressed. Yeah, I feel stressed and anxious about this. I really hate Sherlock is Garbage and Here's Why, and I suspect it's partly autism. A common feature of autism is really hating obvious injustices, and your man making this incredibly popular video and it being full of lies really falls into that. So right. So I'm not going to show everything that is in Sherlock's Garbage and Here's Why's Doctor Who section because your man fucking goes on, but we'll write some of it, we'll watch some of it. Okay.
Alongside him not doing the one thing it would have been really cool for him to do the 2 times and soon to be 3 the Doctor has regenerated under his watch, is that the show...
He has a big thing about Moffat not casting a woman as the Doctor, which, honestly, I think that's a fair point. I think both Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi are genuinely amazing at their jobs. They're such different Doctors, whereas a lot of Doctors can just fall into this quite hyper, sort of wacky, sometimes not, performance that David Tennant and Matt Smith were doing. And Peter Capaldi is so very much not that. It's really cool. But that's not, he could have cast someone, a woman who was doing the same sort of thing. It would be amazing to have Tilda Swinton play the Doctor, but I suspect that wasn't on the cards. But anyway, I go back and forth on whether criticising Moffat for not casting a woman as the Doctor is a good criticism or not. I think there are better criticisms than Moffat, let's put it that way.
Who is now totally dedicated to the persona of the Doctor.
This is the first big point.
Previously, the Doctor was the main character, yes, and he was very important in the story of the canon. He'd been around for a long time, and he knows the history of the universe almost offhand, and he's dabbled in events so often that writers have played this both for drama and for comedy. But ultimately, he was just a guy with his own personality and problems who liked having adventures and was a single piece of the puzzle of every episode.
So it's important to point out that he's just a guy who enjoys having adventures. That really, you can possibly argue that wasn't the case under Matt Smith's era because it's got a wider overarching plot. But it was definitely the case with Capaldi.
Version of the show positions the Doctor as the central puzzle piece to complete the universe, with an army of secret societies out to personally destroy the Doctor because he's the most important person of all time, and special, and wow.
It's just not true. He says it's true, it's not. There is a secret society out to shut down the Doctor. A single one, for silence.
He is the Doctor. He has walked this universe for centuries untold. He has seen stars fall to dust.
So for those who are listening to this, there is a quote on the screen which is, "Let me tell you how special the Doctor is," speech number 903. Now that is an interesting thing for Harry to say, and that was one of the things that got me stuck about this. So let me just find family of blood for a moment.
I've seen him. He's like fire and ice and rage. He's like the night and the storm and the heart of the sun. Stop it. He's ancient and forever. He burns at the center of time and he can see the turn of the universe.
Stop it! I said stop it.
And he's wonderful.
It goes on. It's important to point out, by the way, that the clip HBomberGuy played with Madame Vastra is not actually talking about how the Doctor is amazing. It's the Vastra talking to Clara and going, you've been thinking about the Doctor as like just a really special human. He's not. He's an alien. That's why she talks about the Doctor has like seen stars go to dust, fall to dust. It's because she's pointing out that no, like a human can't really love the Doctor particularly easily. You need to remember that this guy is different to you. He is not a human. I'm not going to do too many of these, but I do want to play a few just so I can demonstrate that there are a lot of moments like the one that Harry criticises.
My sister. It wasn't the Doctor's fault, but you need to be careful. Because you know the Doctor, he's wonderful, he's brilliant. But he's like fire.
Oh, God. Yes, the entire solution to the end of Series 3 was Martha going around and telling people how special the Doctor was.
From the ruins of New York to the fusion mills of China, right across the radiation pits of Europe. And everywhere I went, I saw people just like you living as slaves. But if Martha Jones became a legend, then that's wrong, because my name isn't important. There's someone else. The man who sent me out there, the man who told me to walk the earth. And his name is the Doctor. Etc,
etc, etc. There is also, you know, a Doctor Who fan club in Series 2.
The first episode, written by Moffat with himself as showrunner, ends with the Doctor winning by telling the villains how cool and important and special he is, and this speech scares them off. It's all about the Doctor, instead of the stories the Doctor interacts with.
That's not what happens in first episode of Series 5. In first episode of Series 5, the Doctor wins by creating a virus, disseminating the virus, and then having the Atraxi, who are those big eyeball guys on screen right now, trace the virus to where the Doctor is, which lets them catch Prisoner Zero. But even if your man was telling the truth, which he is not, you know what also happens in Doctor Who? So David Tennant's just murdered the leader of whoever these aliens are.
By the ancient rites of combat, I forbid you to scavenge here for the rest of time. And when you go back to the stars and tell others of this planet, when you tell them of its riches, its people, its potential, when you talk of the Earth, then make sure that you tell them this. It is defended.
Next.
That have to start and then end conclusively, because you're never going to see most of these characters or even this planet again. You can't just set up the next season with a hackneyed cliffhanger or whatever. You have to end the story satisfyingly.
So in this he talks about how much he likes this world building from the Empty Chart. Yep, it's good. And how like it's doing planting and payoff, set up and resolution.
Moffat has to write the whole series and manage the wider progression. You start to see holes. Things start being implied that sound deep, seem like they might be going somewhere, but actually don't.
Oh what, like everyone saying the word Torchwood repeatedly in Series 2? Or kind of Bad Wolf? Kind of, sort of. Like, that implies that it's deep and really isn't.
His first season starts with the Doctor finding a crack in space and time on the bedroom wall of a girl he happens to run into. And then the cracks keep turning up and a piece of the TARDIS comes through one. Where did the cracks come from? Keep watching and maybe you'll find out. Then it turns out they come from the TARDIS exploding at the end of the season. But why did the TARDIS explode? Keep watching and maybe you'll find out. Oh, the silence did it? Maybe? I'm still not clear. Why did they do it? Well, keep watching and maybe you'll find... Oh, they did it because there's a prophecy that silence must fall when the question is asked. Who made this prophecy and what the hell does it mean? Keep watching for yet another fucking season and maybe...
You notice how he stops right in that discussion of Matt Smith's Doctor's overarching arc, you notice he stops before the next moment in the story that he's recounting, because literally everything he's saying gets answered. I suppose the only thing that might not get answered is we don't know who made the prophecy, but he says, oh yeah, you just have to keep watching and maybe you'll find out, with the implication being like you don't ever actually find out. It's like, no, you do. All this stuff gets found out. It's all made very clear later on. And that's what setup and payoff is. And the fact that it happens over multiple series is, in my opinion, good. And he's implying that Stephen Moffat's bad at it for reasons I don't understand. And, well, no, I know exactly why he's doing it. It's because he has an axe to grind about Stephen Moffat, and he wants to say basically anything that will let him make fun of the guy, even when, you know, what he's saying, or like heavily implying in this case, is not true.
It also feels like Moffat really did use up all his feature film ideas, because he brings back the Weeping Angels for a 2-part episode, and then they come back again later. Even more.
The Statue of Liberty being a weeping angel is shit. Well, I've only watched that episode once. I fucking hated it. We'll see if I manage to get there. If it's still shit, it probably is. But yeah, he brought back the Weeping Angels, and he did a lot of different things with them, and I really like it.
In the first series, which is still my favourite, they would have the Doctor do something shitty, like torture a Dalek, and he would have to confront himself that episode and get better as a person.
I've talked about Dalek before. Like, the Doctor doesn't torture the Dalek, he tries to kill it, and he has to confront himself and get better as a person, which is something that I don't think is actually true, because the episode cheats to... The episode wants that to happen, but it actually cheats the ending so that it doesn't necessarily actually work.
What you want about Russell T Davies, but under his watch almost every episode would feel involving, because characters would change or grow or have to actually confront and deal with something about themselves.
That is not true. Like, basically the entirety of Series 2, nothing really changes. And same with Series 3, like, Martha and the Doctor are pretty fucking static. Right up until the point where Martha works out that the Doctor's kind of being a dick. Even in Series 1, I noted that the Doctor made some growth. And he changed a bit, but he then sort of reverted back to where he was in later episodes. So yeah, it's just... And you've then got this fucking clip where it's like, yeah, the Doctor's telling the Dalek to kill itself and take itself out of the equation. That makes him the same as the Dalek. And that is the whole, people who want fascists to take themselves out of the picture are as bad as the fascists thing. It's fucking stupid. Wait, he's died, etc., etc.
Episode explores the Doctor's anger at the Daleks.
Yes.
Co-written by Moffat.
You are a good Dalek.
I haven't seen this episode for ages. I've only watched it once. Because of that "you're a good Dalek" thing, I suspect I'll dislike it intensely.
It happens at the end of an episode. The purpose of this scene is to tell you that the Doctor is full of hatred. Not so we can deal with that hatred being there in the actual story of the episode, or explore these emotions in more detail, but to make you watch the next episode to see if maybe they'll eventually deal with the interesting thing they brought up and did nothing with.
I see into your soul, Doctor.
What? You're allowed... That's what Bad Wolf is. You are allowed to have things happen in an episode which you then pay off later. It's really weird for him to complain about something that may or may not pay off later when Bad Wolf is a thing in his favourite series of Doctor Who. This is why I fucking hate this video, man. He's just making
I see hatred.
Oh, I've looked into your soul. I see hatred, Doctor. Hatred that a future episode might eventually fucking deal with and be interesting.
Do you have it in you to murder me?
Did he push you out of that thing? Or did you fall? Couldn't really tell. He can be very mean sometimes.
We get it. The Doctor's an ambiguous character now. Are you going to explore that in more detail, or are you just going to keep telling us that? For all his flaws...
No, they explore that. It's what Capaldi's arc is. It's what makes Capaldi's regeneration episodes actually really sad, because he has made a lot of really big changes. Like he feels connected to people again, where he starts off feeling really distant and disconnected. It's how you can tell that Sherlock is garbage, and here's why has basically no interest in actually engaging with the points that it itself is making, because he goes,
we get it, the Doctor's an ambiguous character now. Are you going to explore that in more detail, or are you just going to keep telling us that?
So he asks that question and then doesn't actually use that as a place to launch off from, where he could explore that question that he asks and go looking for evidence either way. He just asks the question and then moves on, which has the effect of heavily implying the answer is no. Because, like, if the answer wasn't no, then he'd show evidence of the thing that happens, you know.
For all his flaws, Davies tried to make each episode have a satisfying, complete story and arc for its characters.
I'm the only one left.
Plenty, like... We'll see if he goes anywhere with that.
How about that?
Moffat, as a showrunner, tries to make each episode imply something satisfying is maybe gonna happen eventually. You can have all the fantastic premises you like, shrinking yourself down to go inside a Dalek to do surgery, having a sword fight with Robin Hood with a spoon, having to go on a space bank heist with strangers, whatever, but if most of the time the conclusion is, wow, you've got some anger, Doctor, I bet a future episode might bother to deal with it, those episodes are wasting a lot of their potential. Again,
he said again.
This is something Moffat grasped excellently when he was writing one-off episodes. Blink starred characters that were...
Okay. So he talks about Time Heist, Into the Dalek, and... oh, the Robin Hood one, which Moffat didn't write. But yeah, Time Heist tells a straightforward story which has a beginning, middle, and end. Like, it wraps up conclusively. Let's run through these for Series 5, shall we? The 11th Hour tells the story of Amelia and Prisoner Zero having escaped. The episode ends with Prisoner Zero being picked up by the Atraxi and leaving. The Beast Below, Episode 2, tells the story of Starship London. It begins with the premise what's going on with the starship and ends with Amy rescuing the space whale. It has a definite conclusion. The next one is Victory of the Daleks, which doesn't necessarily have a definite conclusion because the Daleks escape from their life pod or whatever it is and then fly off, but that episode wasn't written by Stephen Moffat. The next two episodes of Weeping Angels they end when they manage to defeat the Weeping Angels. It has a definite conclusion. I don't feel like I should need to continue this. Your man's just making shit up.
The problem is, when you come down to it, Doctor Who is about visiting other worlds and going on fun adventures.
Not in the first series, it wasn't, Harry. They literally never visit another world in the first series.
Moffat made it all about the Doctor.
It's not true. I've already, it's just not true. I've demonstrated better. I don't want to... I'm sorry for having to make this video. I didn't want to. I hope this has been very slightly entertaining. But what I hope more is to have, highlighted how absolutely surface level and shallow those points were. I'm not online enough to know if these bad faith arguments about Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who were already present and HBomberGuy capitalised on them, or if they became so popular because HBomberGuy capitalised on them. But plenty of people who I know have repeated arguments from Sherlock is garbage and here's why to me, despite the fact that they have no merits to them. And plenty of people just drop into comments and go, oh yeah, Moffat's a misogynist because the internet told me or whatever. And Moffat, as a person, has said some deeply sexist things, and the guy comes across as kind of a Gen X-y prick, but his work is not.